Welcome to the deep dive, everyone. This is where we give you that personal shortcut straight into the big ideas shaping how we think and live.
Glad to be here.
Today, we are plunging headfirst into Three Magic Words by Yuval S. Andersen. Think of this as your tailored exploration, a deep dive into a book really aiming to unlock inner strength and peace.
Exactly. We've gone through Anderson's core principles. It's all about the mind, the nature of reality itself, and tapping into the power that he says is already inside you.
Right. So our mission, our goal today, is to pull out those key insights, those real aha moments. We want to show you how Andersen suggests your own mind shapes everything your experiences, your potential.
Yeah, what's possible for you?
Now, fair warning, some of the concepts, they might seem a little unconventional, maybe even complex at first glance.
Oh, for sure. Some are quite philosophical.
But hey, that's why we're here, right? We're going to break these big ideas down, make them understandable nuggets you can actually chew on and, well, maybe even use.
Sounds good. Where should we start?
Okay, let's start with the central metaphor he uses, the lock. What exactly is this lock Andersen keeps talking about?
Okay, the lock. Basically, Anderson describes it as a bundle of negative subconscious patterns. He calls them prompters.
Prompters.
Yeah, prompters. Think of them like buried negative feelings, limitation, feeling like you're not enough, maybe even physical issues that get created when your conscious mind tries to push away stuff it doesn't like.
Like what kind of stuff?
Things like insecurity, feeling isolated, frustration. You try to consciously shove those feelings down, but they don't just vanish.
Right, they go somewhere.
Exactly. To get hidden in the subconscious, acting like invisible fences, blocking you from reaching what you're capable of. The key takeaway here is realizing suppressed negativity doesn't disappear. It becomes a roadblock.
It's like that beach ball analogy, isn't it? Try holding it underwater.
Precisely. It takes effort, and it wants to pop back up. And Anderson uses this stark contrast between a guy named John Jones and figures like Einstein or Jesus.
Right. Tell us about that contrast. How does that illustrate the lock?
Well, John Jones is presented as someone whose life was really shaped by his belief in circumstance, feeling like a victim, holding on to resentment. Andersen suggests this mindset actually contributed to his illness, his early death. He felt powerless.
Okay, so he was kind of defined by the lock.
You could say that. Then contrast that with someone like Einstein or Jesus. They were human, just like Jones, but they accessed this extraordinary power, this influence.
So what was the difference then?
Anderson's critical point is that the same power, the same potential is available to everyone, including John Jones. It wasn't about some special gift. It was about how they understood and used their minds.
So it's not innate ability, but mindset and understanding.
Exactly right. Andersen puts it very directly. Nothing is impossible to the mind of man, for the conscious mind controls the subconscious mind, and the subconscious mind is all-powerful.
Wow, that's a bold statement.
It is. John Jones's habitual thoughts, his ingrained belief in limits that created his reality. He was locked in by his own negativity, those prompters, those buried feelings we mentioned.
And to break free, Andersen gives two key commandments, doesn't he?
Yes. The first one is powerful. Know that fear is your enemy. Fear, for Andersen, is the absolute root of the lock.
Why fear specifically?
Because it's the fear of feeling those uncomfortable emotions, insecurity, frustration, that makes the conscious mind bury them, creating the prompters.
Okay, so fear is the enemy. What's the second commandment?
Understand the lock. It means recognizing how these subconscious prompters, born from rejected fear, are holding you back right now.
Yeah.
Becoming aware of them.
That makes sense. Awareness is the first step. The book also shares that incredible story about the cancer patient, illustrating the power of belief or faith to overcome the lock. Can you share that?
Oh yeah, it's quite something. This patient had throat cancer and was told about a supposed new x-ray machine that would cure him. Now, this man, Andersen says, didn't have much education, didn't really get complex medical stuff, so when the doctor just put a regular thermometer in his mouth.
Yes, just thermometer.
Just a thermometer. But the patient believed he was getting this miracle x-ray treatment. 10 minutes later, the doctor sent him off. And incredibly, the cancer was completely cured.
Seriously? Just from believing a thermometer was an x-ray?
That's the story Andersen tells.
Yeah.
The man's absolute unwavering faith, even though it was based on a misunderstanding, somehow bypassed the lock, those negative prompters, and triggered, well, a profound healing response. It really shows the power of belief.
Wow, that really hits home how potent belief can be. So Andersen suggests we focus today on intuition and faith. How do they connect to overcoming this lock?
Well, faith, like we just saw, is kind of the engine. It's what allows us to break through the lock, dismantle those negative prompters. It's about holding belief even without proof right in front of you.
Okay, faith is the engine. What about intuition?
Intuition is presented as our direct line to the infinite, to that universal subconscious mind that holds all the power and knowledge. So maybe you think of faith as the engine and intuition as the GPS, the guidance system.
Engine and guidance system. I like that. And he drives home the creative power of thought plus faith by reminding us of all the inventions we take for granted, right?
Well,
Ships, planes.
absolutely. Electricity, all of it.
Yeah.
He stresses these weren't accidents. They were a thought, an idea, conceived, combined with unwavering faith that it could be made real.
Thought plus faith creator.
That's his phrase. But he emphasizes, again, that understanding and then overcoming the lock, those negative prompters. That's the first crucial step to really using that creative power effectively.
Okay, so we've got the lock, fear is the cause, faith and intuition as the keys. Let's shift now to his ideas about reality itself and this infinite you mentioned. He starts big, saying humanity is pure spirit, part of God.
Yeah, it's a foundational claim. He says our core is spiritual, we're fragments of a greater divine consciousness. Our physical life, though, creates this sense of separation, of being isolated, responsible.
Which leads back to those feelings.
Exactly. Insecurity, frustration, the very things that fuel the prompters, the lock.
And our physical bodies aren't separate either. They're a result of self-awareness.
Right. Form, including our bodies, is an expression of spirit, a way for spirit to become tangible. And he argues, since God or spirit is perfect, our bodies, as expression of that, are also inherently perfect.
So illness and disease
Are seen as results of misusing spiritual law, basically a lack of understanding our true perfect nature.
He uses that interesting analogy, the cross lines extending infinitely, to show how hard it is for our conscious minds to grasp infinity. Can you walk us through that?
Sure. Imagine two lines stretching forever, never ending, crossing at one point. If you try to uncross them by pulling them apart, that intersection point just moves infinitely far away.
You can never truly separate them in infinity.
Right. Even if you make them parallel, in the infinite expanse beyond our grasp, they're still considered crossed. It shows how our finite mind, needing limits and measurements, just struggles with something truly without end.
And he links this to Einstein's theory of relativity, specifically the speed of light.
Yeah, he interprets Einstein's idea that the speed of light, about 186,000 miles per second, is, for us, effectively infinitely fast.
Meaning?
Meaning it validates the idea that time isn't fixed, and it points to infinity. Something infinitely fast would be everywhere at once, right? Beyond our normal sense of time and space. Interestingly, he notes Einstein himself said his theory came partly from intuition.
That's fascinating. Science meets intuition. He also tells that story about the American woman suddenly speaking fluent Greek, a language she never learned.
Yes, that's another example he uses to show the mind's potential beyond conscious learning. She saw a visitor from Greece, and boom, fluent Greek.
Wow.
It suggests we might be connected to a larger field of information, a universal mind, where knowledge isn't limited by just our personal experience.
And this idea of a connected, powerful mind seems to be gaining ground with groups trying to create peace through thought, through prayer. He mentions Dr. Ernest Holmes.
Right. Andersen points to this growing movement using collective thought, focused intention. He sees it as a modern form of prayer, sending desire into the creative mind of the universe.
And Dr. Holmes.
Holmes was key in the science of mind movement. His institute saw healings, even seemingly miraculous ones, not as miracles, but as the use of the law of mind in action. Basically, changing thoughts changes reality.
Okay, shifting slightly again. Andersen really emphasizes creativeness over competition. He says each person is unique. That feels really central.
Oh, it's absolutely core to his message. He argues we're each a unique expression of this universal intelligence. So trying to just compete, wanting what others have but maybe better, actually stifles our own unique potential.
Competition forces conformity.
That's his view. It pushes everyone into similar molds. Creativeness, though, celebrates individuality, our unique connection to the divine.
So instead of comparing ourselves, we should focus on our own expression.
Exactly. He uses painting as an example. Even if your painting isn't a masterpiece, it's uniquely yours. No one else could make it just like that. Conformity and competition, he thinks, are bad for the spirit. Embracing creativity leads to deeper understanding.
And where does real security lie? Not in material stuff, presumably.
Definitely not. Money, houses, insurance, they're temporary. They fade. Real, lasting security comes from recognizing our divine nature, our connection to the infinite, that universal mind.
That connection gives us access to something beyond material wealth.
Yes, a deeper security, a flow of creative energy far greater than possessions can offer. That's the argument.
He then recaps some key principles like the universal creative mind always being active and responsive to our thoughts. What else does he stress here?
He repeats that we're always interacting with this universal mind, the subconscious. It's not passive. It actively creates based on our mental blueprints, our thoughts and beliefs.
So why don't our desires always show up?
Often, he says, it's a lack of real conviction, deep down belief. Or it's those sneaky subconscious prompters, again, causing inconsistent or self-sabotaging thoughts.
Right, those hidden roadblocks. Okay, let's tackle good and evil. Andersen shares a really powerful personal story from World War II.
Yes, it's very thought-provoking. He saw a Japanese soldier in a suicide boat get killed just moments before hitting their ship.
Which saved Andersen and his crew.
Right. They cheered. Understandably, it was good for them. But Andersen reflected it was undeniably tragic evil for that soldier and his family. It made him question who gets to definitively judge good and evil.
And his conclusion is pretty radical, isn't it? Evil as partial knowledge, an illusion?
It is. He suggests that from God's perspective, with all knowledge, evil doesn't really exist. He saw that event not as inherently evil, but as a resolution of forces, part of truth unfolding.
That challenges a lot of conventional thinking.
Definitely. It suggests what we see as evil is often from our limited viewpoint. In the bigger picture, it's part of a divine process moving towards perfection. No absolute victor or evil, just movement.
He then talks about cause and effect, as ye sow, so shall ye reap. But his interpretation is different from the usual religious one, right?
Very different. He says it's not just about moral conduct and afterlife rewards or punishments. It's about thoughts being the seeds we sow now in our minds.
And our lives are the results.
Exactly. Our experiences, our circumstances are the direct harvest of those thought seeds. It's about the immediate impact of our thinking.
So success and health aren't necessarily rewards for being morally good?
Correct. Morality is important for society, he'd agree, but success and health aren't guaranteed just by following rules. He points to poverty-stricken saints and righteous failures as proof.
So how do we get good things?
By actively creating good through faith and focused thought. It's an active process, not a passive reward system.
He even extends this to physical form, suggesting even a deformity in a newborn is ultimately a result of thought. That's a tough one for many people.
He acknowledges it's challenging, even upsetting. But if everything is ultimately a manifestation of thought, then all forms, including a newborn's body, stem from thought processes.
How does that work? Conception is physical.
He says physical conception is just one step in a chain starting with thought. The subconscious mind, or God, responds purely to the conception, the thought, the desire, the emotion held with conviction. It doesn't judge or recognize suffering, pain, good, or evil as we do. It just manifests the strong conception.
Which leads to the idea that our only real responsibilities are thought and faith, conception and conviction.
Exactly. He says we're only truly responsible for what we conceive in our minds, our thoughts, ideas, and the faith we hold in them. The actual creation, turning thought into reality, that's the job of the universal mind.
He uses Jesus' words about the Father within doing the works to back this up. How does he see that?
As Jesus understanding that creation wasn't his individual effort. He knew a greater power would manifest any thought he held with unwavering conviction. He didn't need to force it. His faith aligned him with the universal mind.
And the same power manifests both good and evil, depending on our conviction.
Yes. Like rain falling on the just and unjust, the power is neutral. It responds to the dominant conviction, regardless of whether we label it good or bad. The quality of thought and strength of faith determine the outcome.
He then defines good as truth and evil as error. And experiencing error helps us find truth.
That's his view of progress. Human experience is about learning, distinguishing truth from error. As we know more truth, we move closer to the divine beyond our current limits.
And truth can always be described because it exists, but illusion or evil can't be fully pinned down.
That's his litmus test. Reality, truth, has form. It's consistent, describable. Illusion lacks substance, so it defies complete logical definition.
He also redefines sin as error and punishment as just the natural consequence, cause and effect, not vengeance.
Precisely. He moves away from guilt and judgment, focusing on the unavoidable results of thinking based on error. Like, taking a wrong turn won't get you there. Thoughts based on error lead to unwanted outcomes.
And evil itself is an illusion we create through our thoughts during our search for truth.
Yes, not an independent force, but a byproduct of our learning, a temporary miscreation from incomplete understanding as we strive for a better grasp of universal truth.
Okay, so if evil is error, then overcoming the lock means recognizing and correcting these errors in our thinking. How does he suggest we do that?
Well, he stresses that evil disappears when faced with truth or good. Our errors looking back actually help reveal truth. So don't dwell on guilt or fear over mistakes. See them as learning opportunities.
He warns strongly against indecisiveness, right? Telling us to give clear do or don't commands to the subconscious. Why is that so critical?
Because the subconscious is like this powerful engine ready to go, but it needs clear directions. Wavering between do and don't just creates confusion, inertia. It stops the subconscious from acting effectively.
And the consequences of errors are impersonal, just cause and effect. We only experience them once unless we repeat the error.
That's right. The law isn't punitive. Once you experience the result of an error, the lesson's there. You won't suffer it again unless you consciously choose to repeat the same flawed thinking.
He makes an important distinction, saying the persistent attraction of evil, limitation, lack, disease often comes more from those hidden subconscious prompters than from honest mistakes we make while seeking truth.
Yes, that's a key point. We might be carrying around these deep-seated negative beliefs, the prompters that act like magnets for negative experiences, even when we consciously intend well. It highlights why we must deal with those prompters.
And the main way to control them is through conscious meditation on spiritual laws, installing a conditioned response for good.
Exactly. By deliberately focusing on positive, truthful concepts, we can effectively reprogram the subconscious, replacing negative prompters with life-affirming beliefs. Consistent mental discipline is vital for a full, healthy life free from the lock.
He revisits Jesus' words about the Father giving the kingdom, saying creative power is given, not demanded. It works through attunement, not force.
Yes, the power to create is an inherent gift already within us, but you can't force it with willpower. It works best through alignment, harmony, and intuitive connection with the universal mind.
And a key to that attunement is a childlike acceptance of good. Accept. Know and accept.
That's beautifully put, isn't it? Children often just trust and accept good as theirs. We need to cultivate that same open-hearted belief. Know and accept implies deep conviction, fully embracing that truth.
He also gives practical advice for problems. Define it clearly, then let go, trusting intuition for the answer.
Yes. Once you clearly understand the problem and envision the outcome, release your mental grip. Stop obsessing. Trust that your intuition, your connection to subconscious wisdom, will bring the answer when it's time.
And he wraps that section with a strong call. Know, accept, believe, keep faith.
Those 4 words really capture the essence. Integrate those principles daily to unlock potential and find peace.
Okay, let's shift to the conscious and subconscious minds themselves. He argues the I, our self-awareness, isn't physically in the brain.
That's a crucial point for him. Our core sense of self isn't just brain matter. Mind, thought, conception, consciousness exists on a spiritual plane, the plane of cause and effect. The brain is more like a complex receiver.
And the conscious mind operates via the 5 senses, seeking pleasure, avoiding pain, like a recorder and filter.
Precisely. It's engaged with sensory input, driven by seeking pleasure and avoiding pain. It remembers past sensations, analyzes present ones, anticipates future ones, and selectively focuses attention.
He talks about an illusory devil working through our rejection of pain and those buried prompters. How does that work?
The illusory devil is his metaphor for negative influences from suppressed fear and pain. Since the universal intelligence subconscious responds strongly to conviction, these buried negative beliefs, the prompters, have power, often leading the subconscious to manifest what we consciously fear.
He then brings in atomic theory, mass and energy being one to suggest a single infinite substance or intelligence underlies everything.
Yes, he uses science, matter, and energy being interchangeable to propose a single unified essence at reality's core. Substance, energy, intelligence, whatever you call it, it's infinite, timeless, spaceless, everywhere.
And because it's unified, there's no real space or time in its pure form. Everything is one thing in an eternal now.
Exactly. Infinity can't be divided or measured. So concepts like space, distance between things, and time, movement between points don't apply in that pure reality. It's all interconnected in a timeless, spaceless present.
He connects this back to Einstein's speed of light representing infinity and says science has kind of substituted infinity for God as the knowable oneness, the subconscious mind.
That is how he sees the shift. Modern science's infinite unified field aligns remarkably, in his view, with the traditional idea of God as the underlying reality. Infinity becomes the scientific term for this oneness, which he equates directly with the subconscious mind.
He then points to hypnotism as a way to bypass the conscious filter and access the subconscious directly. What does hypnosis reveal?
He sees it as a practical demonstration. By quieting the analytical conscious mind, hypnosis opens a channel to the subconscious, revealing its key trait. It operates entirely by suggestion. It has no will or judgment of its own. It just accepts and acts.
Which implies huge potential for us to consciously influence it for good outcomes. Success, health, prosperity.
Absolutely. Since the subconscious is powerful and runs on suggestion, consciously feeding it positive, affirmative suggestions about success, health, abundance can directly shape our experiences.
And finally here, he confirms thought transference, telepathy is real. Distance doesn't matter.
Right, because the universal subconscious mind isn't bound by physical space. Sending thoughts across the world is just as easy as across the room. It's all happening within one unified field of consciousness.
Okay, let's explore intuition and genius. He defines intuition as easily contacting the subconscious mind.
Yes, not some rare mystical thing, but a direct channel to the knowledge, wisdom, and power within the subconscious. It often comes as a sudden insight, understanding without needing to reason it out.
He gives examples like mathematical prodigies, musical geniuses like Beethoven, creative writers feeling something take over.
Exactly. These show the power unleashed when people tap into intuition. Math prodigies just know complex answers. Musicians compose intricate works. Writers feel guided. Andersen says they're accessing the universal subconscious mind.
And he claims all great artists, scientists, thinkers connect with this universal mind when they get themselves out of the way, silence the ego.
That's his belief. True creativity, breakthroughs, insights aren't just conscious effort. They happen when the limiting conscious mind quiets down, allowing the universal mind's potential to flow through.
He also notes that under deep hypnosis, the subconscious acts like it can do anything, without the doubt or fear the conscious mind imposes.
Yes, hypnosis reveals that potential. Without the conscious mind's analysis, doubts, and fears, the subconscious operates with seemingly boundless capacity.
He uses that striking example of the young man cured of elephant-hide skin disease through a simple hypnotic suggestion about his arm clearing up, despite the man's own disbelief.
A powerful illustration. The simple, focused suggestion bypassed the patient's conscious disbelief in healing and triggered a remarkable physical change. It shows the subconscious's responsiveness versus conscious blocks.
But he does add a caution for acute physical emergencies like a burst appendix or severe mental illness. We need doctors and
A
psychiatrists.
crucial balance. While advocating mind power, he pragmatically acknowledges the need for conventional medicine in emergencies. But he maintains the ultimate root cause of all conditions is still thought.
Right. Okay, let's dig into the illusion of the physical world and our airship of God. He says our conscious mind, focused on survival, classifies the physical world, making us believe it's the ultimate reality.
Yes, the conscious mind analyzes sensory data, creating a convincing, but in his view, inaccurate picture. Its focus on the tangible makes us think the physical is all there is.
Like the chair example, we see it as solid, but it's really energy.
Exactly. Our senses say, solid chair. Subatomically, it's energy particles in motion, lots of space. Our conscious perception simplifies this complex reality for practical interaction and survival.
He describes the universal subconscious mind as the stuff of everything, manifesting first as law, then force centers like atoms and solar systems.
That's his creation model. The universal mind is the foundational substance. It expresses first as principles or law, then concentrates into energy centers, forming everything from atoms to galaxies.
He shares Edison's thought about atoms seeming to make choices about combining. That's intriguing.
It is. Edison wondering about underlying intelligence, even at the atomic level, hints at a conscious element in how the universe organizes itself.
Andersen then says the whole universe is expanding consciousness, universal intelligence seeking to know itself by becoming things.
A central idea. The cosmos is driven by the universal mind's desire to experience its own potential through its countless creations.
He traces evolution, amoeba to human, as consciousness reaching higher levels, with simpler forms remaining.
He sees evolution as consciousness ascending, each stage having greater awareness. Different life forms are like milestones, consciousness striving for more complex expression.
And his diagram of all life, law to force, force to matter, matter's consciousness determines form, seeking self-consciousness, then consciousness of the whole, of God.
A concise summary of his view. Principles lead to matter, consciousness emerges within matter, seeking self-awareness, and finally, unity with the divine.
And our sense of separateness is a necessary illusion, so the universal mind can know itself by being a thing.
Yes, our feeling of individuality, though real to us, is a construct. The universal mind needs finite forms to experience its infinite potential through many perspectives. Without separation, no individual experience for the mind to learn through.
He notes it's hard to perceive the indwelling presence, God within us, and true healing or creation requires consciousness of the whole, not separateness.
He acknowledges the challenge of recognizing our divine connection. True power to heal and shape reality comes from embracing unity with the universal mind, transcending the illusion of being separate.
Okay, let's touch on the secret doctrine and life on other worlds. He introduces this doctrine as an esoteric teaching about human evolution through 7 races.
Yes, an ancient wisdom tradition outlining cycles of human evolution. The current 5th race, he says it teaches, is materialistic.
He admits evidence for past-future races is sketchy and the author unclear, but he focuses on its core ideas. Intelligence and law are real, humanity evolves spiritually towards oneness, universal consciousness is attainable, leading to control.
Right. He values its underlying philosophy, which aligns with his views. Mind law are primary, spiritual evolution is happening, and unified consciousness is our potential.
He then argues life on other worlds is likely, since all form is differentiation of one mind, and consciousness is everywhere.
A logical extension of his beliefs. If the universe is one intelligent substance, and consciousness is inherent in life, then life likely exists elsewhere in myriad forms.
He speculates space travel, encountering different densities, will expand our understanding and reinforce the unity of intelligence and law.
He sees space exploration as potentially transformative for consciousness, revealing matter's relativity, reinforcing the idea of one underlying intelligence and consistent laws throughout the cosmos.
Like elements weighing tons per cubic inch elsewhere, showing our perception of solid is relative to our senses and density.
Exactly. What seems solid to us is relative. Beings with different densities or senses would experience the same matter differently, showing form is partly perceptual.
And form can exist even if we don't perceive it.
Just because we can't perceive something doesn't mean it doesn't exist as a manifestation of intelligence and energy in its own context. Form expresses universal intelligence regardless of observation.
Okay, let's talk about a questing God and practical application. He notes thinkers like Plato and modern science both point to a unity beneath the surface illusion.
He sees a convergence there. Ancient philosophy and modern science, despite different methods, both suggest a fundamental interconnectedness underlying apparent separation.
He asks, if unity is real, why the illusion of separateness? His answer. The universal mind seeks to know itself by becoming things, as it can't know itself just as infinity.
That's his core explanation for individual lives and diversity. The infinite needs finite expressions to experience its own potential through unique perspectives. We are those perspectives.
Then comes practical advice. Abandon negative thoughts immediately. Think only positively to attract good.
A direct application. Since thoughts shape reality via the universal mind, consciously choosing positive thoughts and rejecting negative ones is crucial for creating a positive life.
He quickly reviews key points. Everlasting laws, form from thought, life is one, secret doctrine teachings.
A helpful recap of the foundations he's laid out.
Let's revisit intuition. He stresses it's not just a hunch, but an irresistible inner light, crucial for understanding universal laws.
He really elevates intuition. It's a powerful, direct inner guidance, providing deep understanding, often bypassing conscious reasoning.
He discusses Dr. J.B. Rhine's parapsychology work at Duke's scientific proof of mind over matter, precognition, telepathy.
Andersen saw Rhine's work as huge scientific validation, rigorous experiments showing mind's power, hinting it might be independent of space and time.
He lists historical figures Plato, Da Vinci, Shakespeare, Einstein, Edison, Gandhi as examples of people who tapped into this universal power.
He sees them as prime examples of human potential, demonstrating connection to a higher intelligence through their genius and insights.
He explains phenomena like telepathy, clairvoyance, influencing matter as results of the mind's duality, and the subconscious responding to suggestion, all under intuition, but controlled by the conscious mind.
He sees these not as unnatural, but as expressions of mind's connection and the subconscious's responsiveness, accessible via intuition, but usually needing conscious direction.
And he asserts everyone can be a genius by knowing and practicing these truths, controlling their destiny in line with universal power.
An empowering message. Genius isn't exclusive. It's potential within everyone, unlocked by understanding and applying these principles.
He mentions telepathy again, saying it's now scientifically recognized as a subconscious attribute.
Emphasizing its growing acceptance as an inherent capacity, moving from fringe to scientific interest.
Then the really big one, things are thoughts. All objects, circumstances are purely mental ideas in the universal subconscious mind.
A radical concept indeed. The physical world isn't fundamentally matter, but dynamic manifestations of thought within the universal mind's framework.
He addresses the clock argument, does it exist if no one sees it? He says, yes, as a conception in universal mind, put there originally by conscious mind, persisting as long as the idea persists there.
Clarifying that objects exist fundamentally as thought constructs in the universal mind, often initiated by conscious awareness, persisting based on the idea's endurance in that mind.
Okay, let's touch on light, perception, and reality's true nature. He talks about light's properties, theories of perception.
Venturing into physics to show our perception isn't a direct representation of reality. Our senses interpret what's fundamentally energy and vibration.
He mentions the idea that photons could potentially make objects invisible under certain conditions. Ongoing science.
Hinting at manipulating perception itself, suggesting what we see isn't necessarily all that exists.
He concludes the physical world isn't hard facts, but more like shade and shadow, distortions hinting at a greater unseen truth.
Reinforcing the core idea. Our sensory world is limited, interpreted. A deeper mental reality underlies it.
And so-called supernatural phenomena are possible for everyone through expanded consciousness, unity of self, operating with universal laws, transcending limits.
By expanding awareness, understanding interconnectedness, unifying with the universal mind, we access abilities that seem extraordinary but are natural expressions of universal laws.
He uses Jesus as a prime example of this expanded consciousness, clairvoyant, telepathic, healer working with laws, not breaking them.
Elevating Jesus as someone with exceptional intuitive understanding of universal principles, manifesting apparent miracles through alignment with those laws.
Comparing his intuition to Sarah Colburn's numbers, or Blind Tom's music.
Yes, showing exceptional intuition in any field stems from a direct connection to the underlying laws of that domain.
Emphasizing Jesus knew these laws were within him, trusted them completely, achieved unity with the universal mind, attributing works to the Father within.
Underscoring that Jesus' power came from deep understanding of his intrinsic divine connection and absolute faith in it as the source.
He also mentions Buddha, Confucius, Lao Tzu, Upanishad writers as others who perceived this unity.
Showing universal oneness is a recurring theme across spiritual traditions and history.
Let's briefly cover insanity, control, and desire. Why doesn't someone who thinks they're Napoleon actually become Napoleon? Because their conscious mind lost control over the subconscious.
Right. Just having the thought or desire isn't enough. The conscious mind must provide order and direction. In insanity that control is lost, the subconscious becomes chaotic.
So the conscious mind is the personality's cornerstone, providing order. Loss of control leads to disintegration.
Exactly. It provides the framework for the subconscious to work effectively. Without it, the subconscious is vulnerable to random impressions, leading to instability.
And balance between conscious and subconscious is needed for genius.
Yes, genius arises from synergistic collaboration, not dominance of one over the other.
He quickly revisits Ryan's ESP findings and the alignment of Jesus' teachings with science.
Reinforcing that science and spiritual wisdom can point to the same extraordinary human potential.
And summarizes key truths again. Thought creates reality. We don't see true nature. Space-time illusion. Creation is miracle. Intuition reveals laws. Subconscious needs conscious control.
A valuable recap of the core principles presented.
Briefly mentioning transfiguration as a slow dissolving of illusions leading to perceiving truth.
Suggesting a gradual spiritual awakening, shedding limiting beliefs to understand reality more profoundly.
Now, the power of faith and the law of attraction. He tells that story about the losing Stanford football team, shifting their mindset and winning unexpectedly.
A great real-world example. Collective belief shift leading to remarkable results, showing faith in action.
He says faith is the root of everything, our most important tool. The subconscious turns convictions into reality.
Faith is foundational, Deeply held beliefs impressed on the subconscious have power to manifest physically.
And thought plus faith creates, even negative faith, delusion moves the subconscious.
Yes, beliefs, positive or negative, have creative power. Strong fear-based beliefs also shape experiences.
He defines true faith as deep knowledge gained through communion with the indwelling self, the divine connection within.
So not blind belief, but profound knowing from direct connection to inner wisdom and the universal mind.
He introduces the law of attraction. You attract what you accept as true, so abandoning negative thoughts is crucial.
A key principle. Dominant thoughts act like magnets, attracting resonant experiences. Consciously rejecting negative patterns is essential for a positive reality.
And he cautions against constantly checking for results. A watched pot never boils. Trust the process.
Right. Impatience and scrutiny create resistance. Projecting doubt, trusting the process and enjoying the journey allows manifestation.
Sharing examples like obsolete parts becoming toys or the mother embracing her third child.
Inspiring stories, showing the power of choosing a positive perspective, focusing on potential even amid challenges.
Okay, let's turn to love as the supreme law. He says, love banishes fear, quoting Emerson.
Elevating love is the ultimate universal force, dissolving fear, enabling courage and resilience.
Describing the center of consciousness, the kingdom of heaven, as calm observation and communion with the universal subconscious mind.
An inner sanctuary of peace, stillness, direct connection to universal wisdom, where we align with the highest good.
Reiterating all first causes are mental, so our responsibility is managing thoughts and beliefs.
Our inner world is primary. We're responsible for cultivating positive mental patterns.
Countering the idea that achievement is just physical action. Getting it. Conviction created mentally guides action.
Action is necessary, but most effective when guided by mental conviction that the outcome is already potential. True action flows from clear thought.
Cautioning against rigidly willing outcomes. Focus on attunement, faith, trust instead.
Forcing results creates resistance. Harmonious alignment through faith, trust, intuition works better with the universal mind's flow.
Defining absolute love as discarding separateness, perceiving spiritual unity, leading to a rebirth of consciousness.
True love transcends individuality, recognizes interconnectedness, leading to a transformative shift in awareness.
Stating love is within, complete, seeks expression, fear of loss blocks it.
Love is our nature, always present, wanting to flow out. Fear, especially of loss, creates negative patterns hindering expression.
Quoting Wilde on killing what one loves and Coleridge on universal love's power.
Literary insights deepening understanding of love's complexities and healing potential.
Finally, success as service and health as purpose. Redefining success beyond wealth to fulfillment through effort benefiting mankind.
Shifting focus from materialism to positive impact through work and service.
Money as a medium representing service. Making money is a result of success being of service.
Financial prosperity isn't the goal, but a natural consequence of providing value to others.
Lasting prosperity founded on mutual exchange, do unto others. True wealth comes from equal service, enriching all.
Reciprocity is key. Contributing positively creates a flow benefiting everyone.
Highlighting power as creativeness, professional success from loving work, positive outlook, opportunity always present.
Passion and positivity drive success. Opportunities are always there with an open attitude.
Reiterating mental cause, physical circumstances result. Don't let circumstance control thinking. Destiny equals true desire.
Inner thoughts are causal. Outer circumstances reflect them. Shape destiny by aligning thinking with authentic desires.
And explaining motivating purpose is essential for health. Body responds to mind's goals. Lack of purpose leads to disintegration. Vigorous thoughts create vigorous bodies.
Purpose provides vital life force. Bodies respond to mental goals. Lack of purpose harms health. Vibrant thoughts support vibrant bodies.
So he concludes emphasizing intuition, faith, and love are interconnected keys to personal power and peace.
Bringing together the core themes.
Yeah.
These three qualities are essential tools for realizing potential and finding inner harmony.
Reasserting that controlling the subconscious through conscious thought, positive beliefs, understanding spiritual laws is vital.
Consciously directing thoughts, cultivating empowering beliefs, understanding universal laws. These are key to harnessing the subconscious's creative power.
And leaving us with encouragement to tap into our innate connection with the universal subconscious mind.
An empowering invitation to explore, cultivate, and trust that infinite potential within.
So to wrap up this deep dive into three magic words, we've really looked at the incredible power held within your own mind, how those deep subconscious beliefs, the lock, as Anderson calls it, can act as unseen limits.
And how profoundly they shape your reality. We've also touched on, well, the very nature of reality itself, the huge importance of faith in your potential, learning to really trust your intuition,
Yeah, that inner guidance.
and embracing love as really a foundational way of being.
We also looked at shifting focus, right?
Hmm.
From maybe competition to your unique creativeness.
And from just getting things to actively serving others, and how that changes your whole experience of success and, well, just feeling good.
Right. So here are a few final thoughts, maybe some questions for you to mull over. First, maybe reflect. What might your personal locks be? Any hidden negative beliefs or fears subtly limiting you?
Good question. Second, really think about that difference between competing and creating. What unique stuff can you bring to the world? Your specific talents, your viewpoint.
Third, how could you maybe consciously cultivate more faith and trust that intuitive nudging a bit more? Any small steps you could take to just listen better inside.
And lastly, consider this. What if you shifted your focus even just slightly from getting to serving? How might that impact your sense of success, fulfillment, even happiness?
Lots to think about there.
Definitely. We really hope you continue exploring these powerful ideas, understanding your mind and its connection to the universe. It's a journey, right? A rewarding one.
It truly is. Thanks for taking this deep dive with us today.